Welcome to Stitch Happens, a podcast that showcases Black and BIPOC designers in the fashion industry. Meet my coworkers and friends as we have authentic designer-to-designer conversations on innovation, fashionate design trends, and fun things designers like to do. So join us on Stitch Happens. What are you listening to right now, Mikkel?
Oh my gosh, probably like old school hip hop. There's nothing new that I like. Well,
Ah,
no, that's not true. I do like a little bit of Dolce's things here and there, but like for the most part, yeah, my Spotify list got D'Angelo on it.
nice. No, that is good. And that's the thing as designers, and I never even thought about the fact that I use music to help me build collections and how it got me from point A to point B in ideation and also getting tech packs done, right?
Yep.
Which is
Yep.
a very stressful time in a designer's life, but we all
Yes.
got to do it, right?
Yep.
So
I
this
got separate podcasts for different things
is
or separate playlists for different things.
exactly. And to your point, right now, I am listening to Guns N' Roses, like
Oh,
November
wow.
Rain, right? Honey, like the acoustics and just the gets right. That really gets me like creatively going. So music
Mhm.
definitely as innovators and designers and makers and creators, like we are all in one creative space, right?
Yep.
So this is episode number 1, and my name is Emiko. We will be discussing the topic today: Where are the Black designers? This topic has been brought up for decades in the design community, and me and Mikhail have talked about this for many years and many times, and had many amazing conversations on why, like what is it? But at the same time, from your experience, Mikhail, in the fashion industry, what is it that you think is the reasons why people don't know that we're here because we're obviously here? So, what is your perspective on it? And also introduce yourself. Sorry.
Hi, everybody. I'm Mikkel. I am a designer, mostly in the digital space. So I use a lot of programs, Illustrator, Clo, 3D, getting into AI. And then I also am an adjunct professor at the Fashion Institute of Technology. And I own a business that tutors and trains fashion designers and entrepreneurs, 383 Design Studio.
No.
And to answer your question, I think that part of it is one, most people are used to like seeing these brands and seeing these celebrities in these brands and not realizing that a lot of the people that are out front are not actually the ones who are doing the work and actually creating the designs. It's us. We're behind the scenes,
Right.
and we're not usually out front as much.
Right.
And one of the things that I was talking to you about is the representation, like actually being able to see these are the people who are doing these things.
Right.
For me, like one of the things that was really big when I finally decided to start showing my face on my YouTube channel, um, I knew that it would help people connect a little bit more with my content. But what I didn't realize is that it also helped other designers who looked like me
Hmm.
to understand, yeah, there are designers who are Black designers and that are in the fashion tech space.
Right.
Because at the time, and even now, I mean, there's a few more of us that are known or more well known,
Hmm.
but particularly in fashion tech,
Hmm.
like you really just don't see Black women, you don't see Black people, and you don't see as many people of color,
Right. Right.
so that was a big deal to like just showing up and just showing my face. That's a big deal for someone to just see,
Yeah.
okay, there is there are people, we are here, where the Black designers at, right here.
SFX. So Cheryl D. Miller wrote an article for Pratt Institute called "Black Designers Missing in Action." She discusses the reasons why there are so few Black people in the design field. She also stated that much can be done to change the situation to the benefit of the field and the society it serves. So when I read that, I was like, whoa, the society it serves. Because it
Yeah.
makes you realize that there's a coexistence between society has an influence on design and design has an influence on society. And how can we have a resolution or a solution, you understand me, in order to create beautiful or even better, more, I won't say more better product, but better product for people, planet, and also profit.
Yeah. I also feel like understanding and knowing that we are here
Yes.
helps others to realize and recognize that so many of the things that they're already using
Yes.
are created by
Yeah.
Black designers.
Yes.
I mean, I think because we are not out front as
Right.
much,
Correct.
a lot of people just assume like we're not here, we don't create, we don't do this, we don't do that. But I mean, you already know, like a lot of the trends
Yeah.
come from us.
Yeah.
I've been on TikTok for the last few years, and there was a whole big thing about how there were all these Black creators that were coming up with dances and coming up with stuff. And the other creators, I'll just say that, other creators would like take them and they would be amplified, but nobody would realize they would get all the accolades, but nobody would realize that it was the Black content
Where the
creators.
origin was, where it came.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And
Yeah.
so I think that yes, there always needs to be more of us,
Yeah.
but also having us be more represented and out front will help other people understand the creativity is there. It's
Correct.
been there.
Yeah.
We've been here. We've
Yeah.
been here all this time,
Yeah.
and people just need to understand like you're already using a lot of these products already. You're already experiencing a lot of these things.
Hmm.
We just want you to know
Correct.
who actually is doing this.
Yes, because between you and I, we probably have, because I got 18 years of experience in the fashion industry. And how long is yours?
20, oh boy.
Right? So that just right there.
20 something. Yeah,
Correct.
I was saying 25, but it's more than that because I feel like I was saying 25 like a few years ago.
Right. So imagine we have a plethora of information, and not just from New York, but also other spaces and other areas of design. And there's a lot to give back and to pay forward. So with that
Mhm.
being said, as a Black professor at FIT, what do you see as those game changers or pivotal tools that will benefit the next generation of designers and or impact Black and BIPOC designer representation in the fashion industry?
Well, this is a small thing, but it was something that I consciously decided to do several years ago, and I'm glad I did it because I didn't think it was actually doing anything. And then one of my students happened to mention it. I was like, yes. So, we use models, we use all kinds of different examples of things within our tutorials and our lessons and all of that. And most professors will use white models.
Mhm.
So I made the conscious decision. I was like, you know what? This is my class. I'm gonna use
Yes.
whoever I want, you know. And so I just decided that if I needed to show a model, if I needed to show a person
Mhm.
within anything that I was presenting, I was going to make a conscious effort to make sure that they are Black, brown, whatever, like something other than. And not that I never show any white models, but like it's mostly people of color because I know that they're going to get plenty
Yes.
in the rest of their other classes.
Yes.
So
Diverse.
I have been doing that for several years now. And I really just felt like it was sort of a subliminal thing because I mean, I don't know what I was expecting anybody to say, but like nobody ever said anything about it. And so it was just giving me joy. So I
Yeah.
was like, all right, if I'm more joyful, then the class is going to be more joyful. But
Exactly.
it happened that maybe about a year or two ago, I was just talking to one of my students after class, and she mentioned, yeah, you're the only one who shows people of color in your class lessons. And she's like, nobody else is doing that. And I was like, wow, I
Wow.
didn't know anybody was really even noticing,
Right.
you know?
Wow.
So that was, yeah, that was really great. And I was like, okay, people they are taking note.
Yes.
And whether I mean, there's not much they can say. It's my class. But, you know, I think it's helpful to not only expose other non-people of color, shall we say,
Mhm.
to that, to know, yeah, there's more out there that
Yeah.
can be labeled as quote unquote beautiful.
Yes.
But also for those students of color to be able to see themselves represented a little bit more.
Correct.
I also, one of my classes, the very first day, we have an exercise and it's built around Afro. I don't know why I can't think of the name of the festival, but it's this big festival, Afropunk,
Okay.
Afropunk.
Okay.
And I again was just decided one year, I was like, this is what I'm doing, you know. And I think last year I had a student that was from, I believe she was from Kansas.
Nah.
And she took me aside after class and was just like, I don't think you realize how much I really appreciate it. Like, this was my first encounter with you in your class.
Uh-huh.
And that was what it was. And that was amazing. You know, she was like, it was really great that was my first you know, lesson.
Yes.
And I was like, oh, okay.
Yes. Yes.
And I think I told you that was the day when I was like riffing with one of my best friends, and I was like, I don't think I'll come back here. And after that talk,
Congratulations.
I was just like, all right, they might have bought a few more semesters.
Oh, but that just shows diversity and the fact that you, to very beginning, like there were a lot of white models even at the very beginning of fashion, like the fashion
Hmm.
industry, if you think about it.
Yeah,
But then
yeah,
as Naomi came in, as Tyra came in, as all of these other representations started coming in, then
yeah.
to
And even before that, I mean, let's talk about, you know, the Battle of Versailles.
yes,
Um,
let's
Beth
start
Ann
right
Hardison was
there.
there. Um, I, I,
Most
and
people don't
I'm
even
seeing
know
all
that.
these
Explain
people,
what that
but I
is.
can't think of their names right now.
Explain
But
that.
like, yeah, but that was a big deal because these American designers bought these black models to France,
Yes,
and it was like they ain't know what hit them, you
yes,
know.
yes.
So
Beautiful.
we been here.
Yes, and I mean, and that was my going to be my point is that we've been here, but at the same time, the representation hasn't always been there. But then slowly but surely, even in us doing our sketches, presentations, the diversity croquis are starting to show up. And thank you for introducing them to your students. And in that
Hmm.
way, you understand me. You understand that there's one world, there's one earth, there's one right. We're
Yeah,
all one.
yeah.
We're all connected. So I love quotes. So I want to end the episode with a quote. And this quote is, may you find your purpose in being the solution for the problem that you see. And that is by Miss Cheryl D. Miller. She was a keynote speaker at Pratt Institute class of 2023. I am also a Pratt alum. Shout out to Pratt. So I want to say thank you today to Miss Cheryl D. Miller for being a pioneer and also a light for designers, and for being a light that has shined, that has allowed both you and I to even be in this space. So, Mikhail, like, what
Word.
do you think about that quote? And like, it gives me goosebumps. You understand me? And I had this up on my wall for an entire year. Didn't even realize she was a Pratt alum until this
Wow.
week, right? And I pulled up the article and sent it to you, and I'm like, oh my goodness, like look at the universe. So yes, that's a goosebumps.
Yeah. I
Quote.
think that might be tomorrow's Monday motivation quote
Nice.
on my Instagram.
Nice. I want to say thank you, my friend, and my first guest for appearing on Stitch Happens. This is Mikhail. And Mikhail, do you have any last words that you would like to say to the audience?
I would like to say thank you for listening. And yeah, if you are a person of color that is interested in design, you know, go with it. We're out here, and just because you feel like you might not see as many of us, we there. Don't
Right.
worry. And
Correct.
if you are not a person of color, um, yeah, we here and we're here to help.
Yeah.
you know,
Yes.
so it one doesn't have to be exclusive of the other, meaning we're just about people of color.
Right.
But know that the design, everything is that much more beautiful and that much more wonderful when
Yes.
we're all working together.
Yes, yes. And that's one point that I'm glad that you brought up. And so, for me being in design, as for the years that we just stated, for you being in design, and we sometimes been in those spaces and we've been one of, right? And so, the representation, as we stated before, is very important. But then also, how do you pay it forward to other people in the next generations and show
Yeah.
them that this can happen, even though I know that design school can be expensive. I know that art supplies can be expensive. I know that trying to get through the journey can be sometimes a struggle or hard, but there are resources out there. There are mentors out there. There are people that are definitely guiding lights, like again, like a Mikhail, like a Miss Cheryl D. Miller. And I think that's the reason why I wanted to start this podcast. Stitch happens, right? How cool is that, right, John? Gonna give a shout out to John right now. Stitch happens, but it's about a place where me and Mikhail have had many lunches and many dinners. And as soon as we would schedule them after work, right? And we would have a day in New York that is a designer day, right? Everybody knows what that is and understands what that is. And then we would just go into these quiet moments of some restaurant, some place that was really cool, and just sit down and talk and just have conversations and say, hey, did you just see the new such and such fashion show, or did you go and see the new colors for the season, or did you see the new swatches? And so this relationship that me and Mikhail have built is a relationship that me and many of my other New York designer friends have, where we've sat down at tables sometimes of 8 to 10 people, and we're sitting here and we're talking about design, and we're talking about new innovations and new fashion trends and fun things. So maybe some Legos, that Star Wars Legos that somebody just bought, right? So you never know where the conversation is going to go from many different design disciplines. So we're not just apparel designers, we're tech designers, we are graphic designers, but we have the representation here, and we're always at a table full of us, but we don't realize it, and we disperse and go back into those art spaces, and then we become one of. So how do we inspire the next generation? Maybe there's some parents out there like, wait, my child needs to be a doctor, they need to be a lawyer, but that child is very passionate about design or passionate about sketching. Let that passion grow into that child to understand that gift that they have, because that's a gift. And
Yeah.
right. And a lot of times parents understand designers make a lot of money. They do, but for some odd reason people don't think that. But not saying you got to have a steady job, right? Hashtag facts. But at the same time, designers are out there and they are producing amazing collections. Black designers, BIPOC designers, and they're producing amazing collections, but they're behind the scenes, they're behind the label, and people are okay. Like, it's okay to be in design and not have your face there, because you know that you put that blood, sweat, and tears. I remember many times where I'm sitting there and I'm putting a needle through a thread and I got like blood like dripping through my right where I didn't like prick my finger. But again, and I'm sitting there and I'm sewing, or I'm sitting there and I'm sketching and my arm is hurting and my back is hurting, but this is my passion, right? So
hmm
just remember that there's a generation out there. And I think for me, I didn't know about design, and I wish that I knew about design earlier on as that little girl or that little kid, and be able to, understand and build my discipline earlier. But I think that just knowing design is a beautiful thing for everyone, not just BIPOC, Black, but for everybody to understand, because we are all creators, makers, and innovators. And I thank you for allowing
Yeah.
us. And any last moments, Mikhail, before we sign off?
No, I think you said it all.
All right, with that stitch happens. Thank you for listening and see you next time.
Yes, yes, y'all. Yes, 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 yes.